Tre White commits to Kansas, the former Illini, the former, where's other schools? The
Trojan.
Trojan. Also another kid that was a little bit AJ Store-esque in high school, switched a bunch of high schools as well. Now finds his way to Kansas. Interesting ad, I think, by Bill Self. Like, obviously, Kansas and Bill Self, it feels weird to say, like, they had a bad year last year while they still, went 22-10 or something like that. Like, other
2022.
yeah, other teams have had really bad years, but in Kansas basketball terms, I think it's fair to say it was a disaster if you ask most Kansas basketball people or Kansas basketball fans. And they were looking for a big summer kind of out of Bill Self and what's he going to do in the offseason. One of his first moves is adding Tre White, who had a interesting time at Illinois, went from DMPs to being sorry, he went from like third most important player to DMPs, and then also like made his way to being like part of the resurgence, I think, of what occurred um for Illinois late in the season. But I guess I'm gonna throw it to G first for your thoughts, because I didn't see this one coming, to be honest with you. Like
Yeah,
I know, sorry, I know he's on his list, but I didn't think Bill Self was gonna be out to get Tre White.
yeah, I didn't think you'd actually take him and not take him like early in the cycle. Like the first couple of ads for Kansas being Dawson, the Loyola Chicago guard, and then Trey White are like not the names any of us expected to hear. They
Mm,
just got Flory Bedunga back like right now. That's breaking news. So
that
you're
saves it.
starting to see a picture come together a little bit that I don't hate. To be clear, to your point, like this was a down year for Kansas, right? 21 and 13, 11 and 9, sixth place in the conference. Illinois fans call that excellence personified. So I think
Retention.
Trey White, to me, he is not a guy that you associate with winning basketball teams. Maybe that's unfair. Um,
Former Louisville, we missed that too.
right. He's on his fourth school in 4 years, and I think he left all four of those schools in a time when that school was like, damn, that year wasn't great. Like you can say there's levels to that. Like Louisville was obviously horrible. His 1 year at USC was not the worst ever. And Illinois, he gave good minutes to. Illinois did not have a bad season, but all three of those schools left like we need to push the reset button. What are we going to do? And now he enters a Kansas program that like needs to push a reset button. So as a Kansas fan, I wouldn't get super excited about this ad just because like to me he's a role player type. If he's starting at Kansas next year, I think they've taken a pretty sizable talent step backwards. But you start to think about the fit. Darren Peterson's there. Flory Badunga's there. You're basically looking for role player types to fit around those two. And I think Trey White can do a lot of little things that could be useful to a Darren Peterson led team.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting, before I thought to you, Dion. I like Tre White was at a time, I think we had a discussion, like he was the third best player on Illinois, and I think it was adding to like what Kasparis and the other stars were able to do on this team. And he was kind of like this glue guy who was also able to like, rebound the basketball. He defends. He has positional size that I think kind of works out. So when you look at it that way, I didn't even see it like that. You have this guy in Tre White who, whether Bill Self has to convince him that he's not that guy, or Tre White has a little bit of like inner self looking within, that he can just be this piece to what could be two really good players. One being Darren Peterson, who could be the number one pick in the NBA draft, and then Flory Bedunga, who I think is going to explode going into his sophomore season.
Careful. I'm hitting you with the G. Careful.
Uh, Throw it on to you.
Don't talk about the banter like that. That's my dog.
Ooh,
Don't talk about it. JK, can you throw
that's
me a
my
Red
dog
Bull?
It
too.
Can you
is
throw
your
me a Red
Well,
Bull,
if he's
JK?
my dog of my dog, it's like, what's the dog transit property?
That's crazy. You're asking me that.
If my dog's got a dog,
My dog's got a dog, and they're both going to wolf.
yeah, woof woof.
Uh, did you just ask JK for a Red Bull? Oh,
Shout out AJ. Shout out AJ.
that's crazy. Darren Peterson might be better than AJ, though. And I love AJ.
Careful.
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 I love them both.
What does any of this have to do with Trey White?
Nothing.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.
So Tre White, guard, can't shoot. We've been talking about beer pong. We've been talking about cornhole for
He's
the
not
last.
necessarily a guard, though. He's more like a 6'5", like 3-man, I would say.
It's because he can't shoot.
Illinois wanted
And,
him at the 4.
and somewhat like a small ball 4.
Because
Yeah.
can we just describe why though? It's because he can't shoot.
But he rebounds really well.
He does rebound.
In an ideal world, though, he plays guard, but everyone's like, you can't shoot, so you can't.
Fair.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. But like, okay, but can't you see? I mean, you look at a Kansas team. They lose Hunter. AJ Store's gone.
All right, I'm gonna say it. Since you're going through some names and no one wants to say it because it's Bill Self and we respect the dude in the Kansas program is actually special. But I'll say it if no one else wants to say it. The problem with this Kansas program the last 2 years is you've built around losers. You've built around losers. Hunter Dickinson, tip my cap to you, my friend. Talented basketball player. AJ Store,
That was smooth.
like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And
Careful.
the premier name thus far that you've added after losing 11 guys? You lost 11 guys from the worst team in Bill Self's tenure. And the first big name ad you get is Trey White. We don't think that's the same mistake they've been making for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to say it out loud because we trust Bill Self. But when you build teams around guys that are comfortable losing, what happens?
They lose.
Yeah. Really tough to build a roster around a guy that's 6'5" and can't shoot. Just gonna be honest.
Not building the roster around him though.
You kind of have to.
But
you don't.
they need
When you
big
have-
names right now. You're
when
trying to build a roster.
I just thought this was Kansas, and maybe I need to take a step back.
When you have such a deficiency at that size, you are building a roster around him. Because now you need a big that can shoot to offset it.
Yeah, I'm sick. You just hit me with that.
I mean, you're going to play Trey White, Bedunga, Peterson, Dawson, and Marco Jackson? What team is that?
They're not done, right? They can't be.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know why they made a couple of these ads to begin with, is the point.
Darren Peterson kicks out to Tre White and he's wishing he's playing with my dog Nell in Mormontown.
Maybe that's just it, though. Maybe it's just too early. Maybe we got to give Bill Self more time.
I say this. We're recording this as Florida Bedunga announced he's coming back, so maybe we need to give Self 2 weeks.
Are we sure he's good though?
Who?
Bedunga.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
100% sure.
Yeah.
100%.
A one and done guy that's
So
back.
he is. He definitely is. But you deciding you're out on Merez the same time you keep doubling and tripling down how good Bedunga is doesn't make sense to me.
Why?
Because I think they're very similar players.
They're not similar whatsoever. Merez is awful defensively, and Bedunga's good.
I don't think Merez is awful.
I think Merez is awful defensively.
I don't think he's awful. He was a decent block rate guy. He wasn't Bedunga, but
I saw that man get sauteed for 40 minutes against a lot of teams.
they have him trying to play the 4 next to a Visage who's actually awful
Yeah,
defensively.
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bedunga, I think, is.
I don't think Merez is as bad as a defensive 5. That's beside the point. But
Okay.
I guess I'm confused on why you'd be so in on Bedunga, so out on Merez. Just defense?
I'm not even out on Merez.
Okay.
Not even out on Merez. And this is where I need to get on it. It's not a Merez video. I need to just get rid of that conversation that was had about like what he wanted.
Yeah.
Because I think the good part about Bedunga is he's raw. He's one of those classic like, oh, I haven't like played basketball. Like I just started playing basketball 5 years ago. But also like he kind of knows what he is. He's not really trying to do anything like outside of what he can do. He's a great rebounder. He's a great shot blocker. He's a great energy, great athlete.
Are we sure he didn't hit the portal to do that though?
To
step out of it. Like maybe he was committed to it his freshman year and then he hit the portal trying to do more.
That could be true.
And he went back to Kansas because he said Tre White's there.
Maybe Kansas was being cheap. That's another story we need to talk about.
Yeah, could be.
Some are rich.
Could be.
Well, they spent a lot of money on Darren, I would assume.
Time machine. Fast forward to March 17th, 2026. What was Trey White's statistical season? What was his role, and where is Kansas?
Well, the last couple years, I think we have seen that Bill Self has chosen someone to pick on, kind of, to be like anti, like I add that guy and then he's not my guy.
Yep.
Yeah, welcome Tre White. Welcome Nick Timberlake. Welcome Kevin McCullough. Welcome AJ Store.
One of those.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be mentioned to any Kansas, because I would bet people watching this is probably like a mix of Illinois fans being like, what do they think of this? And then a mix of Kansas fans being like, ooh, exciting new ad. And we just shit on him for 10 minutes. I think it is important to share context that like there was a lot of rumored behind the scenes issues with Trey this year.
Yeah, like practice run-ins, just bad,
Like
bad stuff.
he got in the Brad Underwood doghouse at a time that Illinois was hurting. Now the good news is sometimes you see guys get in the doghouse and the team gets better. To my eye, the team struggled without Trey White.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a mistake for Brad Underwood to let whatever doghouse stuff happened affect his role on the team because Illinois needed Trey White. But I wouldn't feel good with Bill Self's history here.
I was just gonna say, well, can you name one coach who lets guys get in the doghouse and doesn't care if it affects the team? That'd be Bill Self would be the number one contributor to that the past couple of years.
Right. So that's why I think he falls out of the rotation by the end of the year. Maybe has a good couple months early. I think a good season for Trey White would be like 12-6, role player like fourth option on a decent team.
It'd be a great season, I think, honestly.
Could happen. Could happen. Yeah. But to me, I feel like this is just driving Kansas right down the path they've been on.
Yeah.
Good enough, not great enough.
The last bold prediction, Trey White doesn't even finish his career at Kansas.
That's crazy.